Tonight on CTV, Fort Collins residents could look forward to having an extra roommate as the U+2 law is being reconsidered.
Plus, health is in the news as Colorado offers free mental health care to children, and CSU professor was shocked to find out that she'd be paying more than she hoped to have a child at UC Health.
That's here on CTV. Good evening and welcome to the Thursday Night News Show. I'm Kenneth Frederick.
And I'm Weston Hubbard.
Following an incident last year in Loveland in which a woman was shot multiple times over a parenting dispute, Tierra Kelly, the shooter, has now been sentenced to 32 years in prison. Kelly claimed she shot her neighbor, Mystique Wadena, over a disagreement on how she parented her children. While the incident did not kill Wadena, it left her in critical condition. At the hearing for her sentencing, Kelly reportedly sobbed and apologized to the harm caused to both Mystique and her own family.
While living in Fort Collins can be pretty, the rent can be quite the opposite. But the city of Fort Collins is looking at reconsidering one of its oldest laws, and it's one that could make living way more affordable.
If you live in Fort Collins or ever have, you're probably familiar with the U+2 law. For those who don't know, it's a housing law that restricts the amount of people who can be living in one residential unit at one time. But now, for the 10th time since 2005, Fort Collins is yet again looking at ways to change the controversial law. At a Fort Collins City Council meeting on Tuesday, October 26th, a majority of the City Council gave staff permissions to begin gauging the public on interconnected strategies for the city, with the revisions of U+2 being listed on there. While this may seem like a big deal, as listed above, this is the 10th time since 2005 that the law has been talked about revision-wise. Even if public interest is in favor, there are a lot of other steps that come out of it, such as meetings with stakeholders, landlords, renters, and a plethora of other groups to get permission. However, with the law being so controversial, that still should encourage those who are for or against it to stand up for their beliefs and why. Members of the council are both doing so, with both sides defending on their behalf. Recent studies showed that 47% of the law's recent violations were from students, causing people to wonder, do students really need the U+2 law? With the talks being engaged yet again, now would be a perfect time to keep your eyes peeled for any information that you can see regarding the U+2 law.
Living in a house with affordable rent, that sounds like a dream come true. What do you think, Kenny?
Honestly, it really is just deja vu for me. How many times a year do we hear about U+2 being talked about?
I'm not even going to lie. I'm pretty sure we reported on it last year and no progress.
And the year before that?
And the year before, yeah, it's like a continuation, but it's fine.
Well, in other news, upcoding visits is an issue that has affected medical health care in the U.S. for a long time. It's where services are classified as something more serious to get more money out of insurance companies and patients. It's even affected a CSU faculty member. Conservation biologist Caitlin Wells-Salerno was charged an extra $3,000 for a routine birth of her second son. The extra charge came from a level 5 emergency service fee. The level of service is rated from 1 to 5, and a level 5 emergency service is reserved for those with life-threatening injuries or complicated circumstances, something that Wells-Salerno said was certainly not the case. The Center for Improving Value in Healthcare found that between 2009 and 2016, visits given a level 5 code rose from 23 to 34%. This issue has an even greater effect on people with lower rate or even non-existent healthcare insurance.
Continuing with more statistics, the Colorado Health Access Survey includes 10,000 Colorado households and inquiries about everything from the effects of COVID-19 to the ability to find childcare. In the state, uninsured people only increased 0.1% since 2019, a stat that surprised researchers due to the effects of the pandemic. In Larimer County, 44.8% of respondents noted a decline in mental health. 29.2% of the people over the age of 5 have also reported having poor mental health issues. This is higher than the state average of 15% in 2019. To see the other points of data on a county or state level, you can go to coloradohealthinstitute.org.
Becky Pringle, president of the National Education Association, came to Fort Collins on Tuesday to speak about the upcoming board elections. The races for district spots are contentious, with each race having candidates backed by the NEA and the Larimer County GOP. Pringle came to speak to endorse the 4 NEA-backed candidates and to encourage people to get out and vote, stressing the importance of this year's election.
Several CSU students and professors will be traveling to Glasgow, Scotland to speak to a UN conference parties in November. The group will be led by the experienced UN Talks member Jillian Bowser. They will be presenting their motto, Voices of Optimism, Agents of Change. House Representative Joe Neguse said, quote, "I'm thrilled that Colorado State University is sending a group of students to COP26 to engage on the world stage in conversations critical for Colorado and for our planet." Well, stick around, Rams, as Morgan Gardner will update you as soon as possible on the snowfall to come.
That's next on weather here at CTV Channel 11.
If I could go back and change it all, I would. I think I'm gonna miss you the most. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's just the little moments. If I could go back and change it all, if I could go back, I would. But I can't.
Good evening, Rams. My name is Morgan Gardner, here to give you the rundown on all things weather. And starting off tonight, it is nice and clear outside with a high of 51 degrees. Later in the evening, we're expected to go down to lower 30s with a little bit of wind coming from the west at northwest at 6 to 10 miles an hour. Overall, those lows are looking pretty consistent across the region. We're not going to have as much wind as we have seen this week, but the eastern side definitely will. Heading those lower temperatures, Lyman at 21 degrees, Lamar at 30, Burlington at 32, definitely getting the brunt of the wind this evening. And over here on the eastern side of the region, Gunnison and Alamosa down there at 20 degrees. Well, the Springs has the nicest temperature out of all of us, sitting at 37 degrees. And we're not expected to get any gusty winds up here in Fort Collins throughout the evening, which I am certainly happy about. As we move into tomorrow's highs, it is going to be a beautiful fall day across the Front Range. Highs in the 70s, while Colorado Springs sits at about 68 degrees. The eastern side, their cold front is completely moving out tonight and making way for some beautiful sunshine tomorrow. Lyman at 70, Burlington at 72, and Lamar getting the best weather out of all of us tomorrow at 73. Again, along the I-80, Vail a little bit lower at 54, and down there in Telluride at 51, making for some fluctuation across the region tomorrow. And up here in Fort Collins tomorrow, we can also expect a beautiful sunshiny filled day with a high of 70 degrees and a low of 38 degrees. Again, it will be nice and sunny tomorrow with a little bit of wind, but definitely not as gusty and brisk as we've seen these last couple days. Sunrise at 7:27 in the morning and sunset at 6 p.m. Considering last year we got our first snowfall immediately after Labor Day weekend, comparably this fall has been pretty dry. And I don't know about you, but I've enjoyed autumn this year. The beautiful aspens painting Technicolor masterpieces across the Rocky Mountains, crunchy leaves, 60-degree days, and getting outdoors to do all the fun-filled activities. Needless to say, it's been fall-tastic. However, that's all about to change. After a week full of chilly wind, a cold front is on the move, hitting us right here in Fort Collins Halloween night. So if you're planning on trick-or-treating or going out to the pumpkin patch, you may want to bundle up. Saturday night, we're expected to get some rain starting around 6 in the evening, paving the way for some snow flurries between 7 and midnight. So lows in the 40s there, making way for a little bit of rain and snow mixed on Monday. 44 degrees as well with the low of 27. Expected to get some rain starting about again at 6 p.m., but later in the night around 7 to midnight, expected to get some snow flurries in there, making for some pretty chilly weather on Halloween. And I, for one, am not surprised that Colorado is getting some snow this Halloween. I think it snowed every year since I was about 15, so definitely not surprised. As we look into Monday and Tuesday, again 44 on Monday with some snow flurries. Tuesday expected to get a little warmer with no snow, but maybe a little bit of wind like we've seen this week with a low of 28 degrees. And well, Rams, that's all the time Remy, Edward, and I have with you tonight, but stick around after the break for more news.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back from the break, Rams.
Thanks for joining us again at CTV News.
The Colorado Department of Human Services is attempting to combat mental health in youth 17 and under by providing them with 3 free counseling sessions. This program, entitled I Matter, comes in the wake of the rising concerns over children's mental health being affected by the ongoing pandemic. 32 healthcare providers across the state have joined into the program, wishing to help combat the rise as well. Children can access the program by going to imattercolorado.org.
Tomorrow, Huska Automotive and UC Health will host their annual Halloween-themed blood drive at UC Health Garth Ingold Blood Center, Fort Collins. Donors are encouraged to come out in their costumes. Dennis Huska, president of Huska Automotive, said in an interview with the Collegian, one donation can save up to 3 people. There will be 2 donation trucks as well as an office to give blood at. Bridget Asoff, a blood donor recruiter, said that giving blood was crucially important for the community.
In so many ways, it's the most powerful thing you can do to help somebody in your community. Blood can't be made. It's given by people in our community to help support our hospital systems.
If you would like to dress up and donate tomorrow, you will have to sign up for a time online.
Colorado State University is set to receive yet another massive grant to help fund some research. The Carnegie Grant, which is a $450,000, was only given to 11 winners in total. This grant will be dedicated to a team of researchers at CSU, comprised of professors Peter Harris, Allison White, Youngsung Kim, and program director Sam Hoetling. The grant will help them in their research project to track and determine if foreign and national security policies end up affecting local communities and how deeply it does. With this grant, the team is optimistic that they can bring forth some great research.
This weekend is Halloween, and Rams all over Fort Collins are preparing for parties and other festivities. With lots of people getting intoxicated, many are looking for ways to get home without having to drive. Tomorrow, one way to get a lift is a Ram ride, and it's a service provided by the university and staffed by volunteers. They're expecting a high volume of ride requests, but demand should be able to be met with over 30 drivers volunteering for tomorrow night.
And so we really want folks to download that app and utilize RamRide. And then also we appreciate just everyone being super understanding of like our current situation with staffing and only being able to operate on Fridays.
If you would like to call for a trip home on Friday, you'll need to download the RamRide app and sign up with your CSU ID.
Stove Prairie Elementary School is celebrating being open for a total of 125 years. The school, which opened all the way back in 1896, is recognized as being the first one-room school in Colorado. And they didn't even join the Poudre School District until 1960. In honor of celebrating such a big occasion, they hosted a small festival for the students and staff, packed with food and activities. Congrats on 125 years, Stove Prairie, and the many more to come. Well, Rams, that is all the time we do have for you tonight.
But stick around for the latest on sports as Cameron Evig looks at the halfway point of the NFL season.
And later join Tom Isaacson as he looks around Halloween tours around Fort Collins.
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes and you come to mine. This is it, first impression, my way in. But can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or being the first one to always step up. No, that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent that is dedicated, hardworking, and determined like me.
What's up, Rams, and welcome back to Cam's Corner. I'm your host, as always, Cameron Evig. CSU football comes off, I guess I'll leave it at tough week after that monumental blunder they had in the final seconds against Utah State. See what they have to do to bounce back this weekend when they play the Broncos. Plus, time flies, the NFL season is already almost over somehow. I'll give you my top 3 takeaways from pro football so far. And to end off the night, we'll of course finish things off with the Ram of the Week. All that and more on Cam's Corner, starting right now. Let's kick things off with CSU football. Has anybody seen Coach Adazio this week? Well, hopefully he's on a flight back to Boston College after that disaster in the final seconds in Logan. Now, maybe firing him is an overreaction, but come on. Someone's got to let him know that if you throw the ball directly at the ground after the snap, it stops the clock. It's called a spike, and it gives your kicker time to set up to make the game-winning kick. Crazy. But whatever. I think Steve has been scrutinized enough this week. So much, in fact, that he cut off all media availability leading up to the game Saturday. But enough with roasting Adazio. When you look to this weekend, the Rams are going to need to forget that last game fast because they got Boise State coming into town. Now, usually when you hear BSU is coming to town, it puts some fear into Ram fans' hearts, considering they have not beat the Broncos in the 10 games they have faced off in since Boise joined the Mountain West in 2011. But this Boise team is about as scary as the haunted house I went to this weekend, and wow, was 13th floor bad. The team from the Blue Turf is 3-4 on the year, just like the Rams, but in my opinion, they have a more impressive resume, being only one of 2 teams to beat 25th ranked BYU and losing to number 15 Oklahoma State by only 1 point. But if Nevada and Air Force taught us anything, it's that BSU isn't even as close to as untouchable as they have been in the Mountain West in the past. And unlike the Falcons, who beat them the last time out, Boise is not a running team. Instead, the focus for CSU has to be QB Hank Ballmeyer and his favorite pass catcher, Khalil Shakir. Khalil leads the way for the Broncos with 659 yards receiving and 4 touchdown grabs. The Rams let Devin Thompson go for 107 last week, and they have to do a much better job on Boise State's star quarterback and receiver tandem if they want to shut down this Boise offense. If they play better at quarter than they did in Logan, who knows? I feel like they have a pretty good shot at beating Boise under the lights and canvas this week. But that's enough with CSU. Let's move on to some more football action, but from college to the NFL. Wow, where's the time gone? We're already halfway through the season, and pro ball has been really fun to watch this year, as it usually is. Right now, Cardinals look like the best team in the league, and wow, what's happening with Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs? Either way, let's go into some more depth and talk about my top 3 takeaways from the NFL through 7 weeks. My first point has to be the NFC is absolutely loaded. Looking at the NFC, comparing it to the AFC, you got the Cardinals, you got the Buccaneers, the Packers, the Rams, the Cowboys, all in contention for that Super Bowl trophy. Do not sleep on the Cowboys, let me tell you. Their only loss against an insane Buccaneers team, actual dark horse for that championship, which kills every other NFL fan. But the Buccaneers are dominant in every game they play. People have just forgot about Tom Brady and the Bucs. Nobody seems to be talking about him. I mean, besides the fact that he got his 600 touchdown in the last game, and that guy got ripped off for that ball. But besides the point. Only team in the AFC that seems like they have a shot is the Bills. Josh Allen and the crew look really good over there. Titans are not contenders. You cannot convince me otherwise. Completely overrated squad. Derrick Henry has to run for 250 a game from here on out for them to be in the Super Bowl. And speaking of the AFC, my second point, the Chiefs are not okay. Look, I fell into the trap like everybody else. Chiefs had a bad start to the season. I thought everything was going to get better. Pat Mahomes cannot be this bad. And Lily has thrown 9 interceptions this year and has had his fair amount of fumbles as well. Teams seem to have figured out Tyreek Hill, put 2 players on him, and he can't do anything. You're going to have to drive the ball without throwing a 100-yard streak to Tyreek. No Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He has that injury. Didn't even look good when he was on the field. And the defense, what has been historically very average, is not getting carried this year, and it's showing. It shows how they've been not very good in years past as well, but the offense has just been so dominant. Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs are in trouble. And to finish things off, I know the Cardinals are on top right now, but the Rams are still the best team in the NFL. Look, the Cardinals are 7-0. The best record. They beat the Rams. I know. Byron Murphy looks like a stud at quarterback. You got Isaiah Simmons and Budda Baker at those safety positions looking good as well. But for me, this Cardinals defense is just not good enough to fully believe in them yet. You got J.J. Watt out for the year now with an injury. He's a big part of their interior defensive line, and it's going to be tough without him. You can't bet against Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. They're going to make plays every single game. They're the best at their positions. The Rams are still better. Matthew Stafford looks like an absolute god at the quarterback position, with Cooper Kupp having the most receiving yards in the NFL. The Rams are better than the Cardinals and are the best team in the NFL right now. Those are my main takeaways from 7 weeks of pro ball. But now we got to move on to the Ram of the Week. Here is your Ram of the Night. Now look, there was not too much action this week for the Rams, so I don't have a play. But there's still a CSU athlete I would love to feature. My Ram of the Week goes to CSU volleyball star Karina Lieber. Karina had 12 kills and 2 blocks in CSU sweep of the UNLV Rebels last week, and put the Rams on top of the Mountain West at 9-1, positioning them at the very top, as I just said. And the Rams are currently playing right now in Colorado Springs, with the score being 2-0 CSU. Looking like CSU can get another win at the Air Force Academy. Obviously, 2-0 for CSU right now at CSU. This is a big game for CSU, though. They need to continue to win so they can keep Utah State off them for that first place spot. The Rams look to continue to dominate. And that's all I got for you tonight. But hey, you better stick around, because Big Tom Isaacson's going to give you all your entertainment news. I'll see you next week.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Welcome back from the break, Rams and Ram fans. My name is Tom Isaacson, and I'm here to give you all the news and entertainment to wrap up the week. Let's get straight into it. And tonight we start with, you guessed it, food news. Old Town is hosting a huge restaurant event. Starting next Friday, 30 restaurants in Old Town will be giving out great deals on everything from homemade hot chocolate all the way to a 4-course seafood meal. The event is meant to highlight the creativity of restaurants in Fort Collins. Participating places are things like Austin's, Jack's Fish House, Ginger and Baker, and much, much more. Check out downtownfortcollins.com for a full roster of the restaurants. Now, last week I had the great privilege of going on a ghost tour, and I like to think that I inspired more people to open up historic destinations for tours. For the first time, tours are being offered at the historic Avery House, offering a Halloween-style event. Operating off of the corner of Meldrum and Mountain, candlelit tours will be opening soon from 6 to 8 at night, taking guests through rooms full of history and spooky artifacts. This sounds like a ton of fun and a great Halloween event to try. Alright, Fort Collins is full of some of the most interesting and unique personalities. And this week, I had the great pleasure of talking to a guy who's the expert on all things audio.
College students love speakers. For the dorm room, outside activities, in their cars even. Look, I even have some. Stereo music listening has made quite the comeback alongside vinyl. And in Fort Collins, there's always been one guy to go to for all your speaker needs. Steve Harms.
I really liked music as a young kid, and I couldn't afford to buy the speakers I saw in the hi-fi shops. And my uncle had a wood shop, so I started reading books, and at 14, my cousin and I went to his shop and built our first pair of speakers. Fast forward, when I finally actually made it into my business in 1974 here, John, my cousin, called it Harms Labs.
An expert in the field of crafting and shaping some of the best audio experiences, Steve had an empire here in Fort Collins.
At our peak, when we were at the store, which is now the Salvation Army building, I had nearly 30 employees, and I had 6 bays in my car shop. I had 10 people working in the wood shop building speakers, a staff of sales, 2 crews that went out and installed things in people's homes, and 2 repair techs.
However, swept away by the flood of 1997, Steve took a hiatus from his work. But with the resurgence in the home sound system, Harms Labs is back.
I've always been excited about what I do. It's sad when you see people that do a job and they're just showing up. So I try to attach to people and figure out what their needs are, and if it is above and beyond, we can do that. That's what custom is. It's not, here's the 3 choices.
Because it's less about making a paycheck and more about doing what he loves.
I don't care what you do in your life, if you can find something you really enjoy, and I really do enjoy building speakers, putting in fabulous car systems, and solving problems. It's fun to do repair work when no one else can fix it and you can figure out how to do it.
Like I showed you, I'm an enthusiast of speakers and loud music, much to my neighbor's dismay. Still, it's really cool to talk to and hear about experiences from someone who is quite the expert in their field. Thank you, Steve. As someone who has premiered films at this theater, this next bit of news definitely excites me. Killian and the Comeback Kid opens tomorrow night. It's a story about a young mixed-race musician looking to build a ragtag team of other musicians to play music to unite their small community. Tickets can be purchased online or at the theater, and honestly, I think I might go. If you want to see the full story behind the movie, tune in next week with Sophia Ellis. This sounds really cool. Well, Rams, you know what time it is. Let's check out what I found for the clip of the week. Last week I talked about the leaves falling to the ground and something about recycling, but I also mentioned my favorite memories of jumping in leaf piles, and I think I found my new best friend. I mean, what else can I say? Absolutely adorable. Now, does that dog just naturally love leaf piles, or was that trained? It doesn't matter. Still adorable. And with all of that, Rams, we are out of time. Thank you all very much for tuning in tonight. Don't forget to watch our sports show on Monday. My name is Tom Isaacson. Good night.